Hey guys, Tepcocyclerepair. Today working on a 2019 Beta 500 RRS. This is a bad machine right here. So what we're doing today is we're going to be removing the thermostat. Thermostat is inside the coolant lines. It's right in front of the cylinder. It's a pretty straightforward swap. You're just taking off the old hoses and putting new ones on. So here's the set of hoses. It's going to replace everything. Just a matter of taking it out. And the thermostat housing just sits in the hoses, and as it warms up, it opens up. So why do we take this out? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First off, some riders want to avoid the possibility of it cracking and leaking because it is plastic. And some also want to avoid the possibility of it sticking and not opening and their engine overheating. So the way these bikes are, as long as you fire them up, let them warm up a little bit and ride, you really don't need the thermostat. If you're riding in really cold temperatures, if you're someone who rides in the snow a lot and just needs to make sure that bike stays warm, you may want to leave it in. In temperatures where I'm at here, it's always hot. I mean, there's very small times that we're riding where it's cool. It would be a factor. So we're just going to take it out, put in the hoses, and get everything flowing smooth in there. Let the bike warm up when you fire it up and take off, and you're fine. So let's get it done. So to gain access to it, we're going to have to remove the seat, the tank, and then all of our radiator hoses should be right there. Pretty easy to do. So let's get those off. I highly recommend in these oversized tanks, if you're going to use it, put some anti-seize on this. You can see some corrosion on that already. If these lock into your tank, you're not going to be able to get your tank off. Or it'll spin it inside the tank, and that's no good at all. Alright, so what I had to disconnect to get the tank off is we have our fuel pump here. This, I believe, is the low fuel light, and you can see it's leaking fuel somewhere, so we're going to have to look into that a little bit. And then we have our fuel line. It's right here. It's a regular push button fuel release connector on there. So this is what we're looking at in here. This is what we're going to be taking out. We have connections up top, there. We have them here on the other side down in there. We have our lower ones. I believe this kit comes with lower ones also. So we're going to go ahead and take this off right here, this whole big unit. So we're going to drain the coolant out first. Okay, we're going to be draining it out of the drain bolt right at the bottom of the water pump right here. So I'm going to take the skid plate off because I need to be able to catch it all and it's in the way. Simple, 1, 2, 3, 8 millimeters will take this off. All right guys, so the trick here is to just get your container so you can catch the water. When you first take this out of here, it's not going to be shooting out. It's going to be barely trickling out. I don't know why it's not focusing. Sorry, hang on. There you go. So when you take it out of here, it's going to be barely trickling out. And then we're going to put our catch container, which is this 1 gallon of jug of water. It's empty. And put it right up to that thing. And then we're going to crack the cap at the top. When we crack the radiator cap, it's going to come gushing out. All right, see what's barely coming out? Crack the radiator cap. There it is. Just going to let it drain all the way down the bottom, and that'll be fine. As soon as it stops coming out of here, we'll be below our lowest point. That's it. We'll put this back in. You always know the one because it has a brass washer behind it. Don't over tighten these. Alright, time to pull these hoses off. Alright, so now let's just start taking all the hoses off. I'm going to show you how to take these off. I already got one loose here so I can kind of show you what it is. But when you squeeze these together, there's a little lip right here on the end, and this clip right here will just clip onto that. So you squeeze them together and they lock. To get them off, you just stick a small flat head behind it, and you pry on it, and you pop it off that end lip. I'll show you in another one. All right, so you can see that right there. You want to get to the end of it right here, and you can see it locks on the tab right there. So you just stick a screwdriver in here, pry it up and it releases it. And there's the hook right there, and it just locks over this tab. So to get them back on again, you got to squeeze them together and they'll lock back together again. All right, let me keep taking everything off. Guys, and a tech tip here, when these are sitting on for a long time, they kind of bond together a little bit. Don't just yank them down, you'll damage things. Grab it and twist it first. Okay, when you twist it, it'll break it loose, and then you can just work it down and it'll be fine. But make sure you grab it and give it a little twist first, and that'll help release it. All right, guys, so we got everything off. This is a temperature sensor. I believe it's for the Voyager gauges, so we're going to put that back in line right there. So also I got all the lines off of everything else. We're all ready to start reinstalling. And on the left side here, we're not going to be using this port, so they give you one little piece right here to put over that. So we're going to put that over and put the clamp back on. It's got the crossover right here. It goes right to the other side. All right, so with the bottom one in there, we have this temperature gauge to deal with now. So what you can do is pretty simple. Just take the old one that was on there and just cut it, match that, and then slide the gauge inside there and slide into the bottom part. And if you got a little bit extra, because you have to account for this much of the hose being missing, you might have to cut a small section of it out. But let me get that all cut up and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so we got this side all back on. Now to put these clips back on right here, I just took a pair of needle nose right here and I grabbed it both sides and just squeezed it really hard. And when you squeeze it enough, it just hooks back on and clips. Then the pressure of the hose trying to push it out keeps it locked into place. I'm sure there's a special tool for this. These worked fine. All right, so the top is all on. Let's go ahead and put the bottom on. This one jumps across from here to the other side and then to the water pump here. All right, guys, so we're all mounted back on. Looks good. Everything fits good. Now, I do want to make a note here. This lower one right here going to the water pump was longer. I had to cut a section of this off because it was long enough that it was touching the pipe and the curve right here. And now at that bit cut, it's got some clearance in there so it won't overheat. You don't want this hose touching these pipes. They get super hot. So you don't want anything melting to it. So make sure you got clearance in between there. I had to cut a little bit off of here. That's the only thing I had to do for that. Everything else looks good. Let's go fill it back up with water. Now when I'm filling the water back up again, make sure you take this 8mm out here so it bleeds and wait till it comes out of there and then cap this one and then top it off. All right, guys, that's all there is to it. I'm going to leave the tank off. I got a couple more things to do in this bike, service-wise, so I'm going to leave that off. Everything went on pretty easily, except for the one hose I had to cut a little bit shorter because I didn't want to touch in the pipe. Make sure you put a little bit of coolant inside the hoses when you're sliding them on. It helps them slip on a little bit easier. Otherwise, they're going to be kind of hard to slide onto everything. Get your clamps on there, right? Make sure you start the bike up and run it for a little bit and make sure nothing leaks before you take it out for a ride. I'm going to do that after I'm done doing the rest of the service on this bike. But that's what I got to do, just put those coolant lines on and to delete the thermostat from these betas. Again, this is if you ride in a hot area like I do here, you don't need that thermostat. If you're in a cool area, you might as well leave it on. But, you know, if you can get rid of it in the areas that you're riding in, you might as well. It's just one less thing you have to worry about when you're out in the trail. These hoses, apparently, they say they flow a little smoother. I don't know if that's all that, but they seem to work good. I've had them on a couple of bikes. I haven't had any issues with them. Didn't have any of them leaking. So don't over-tighten your clamps and tear them. But, guys, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for further notification. Got a couple more videos coming out on this one. Until next time, this is Tepcocyclerepair.